All right, and welcome to the next video. And I'm going to pick up exactly where I left off in the last one. So in this video, we're going to head over to reports, assuming that we have gone past the 3, 5, 7, however many days you ran your page like campaign to get the data that you're looking for, which is the age and the demographics that's best for you to target in order to generate sales in the future. So in order to do just that, what I'm going to do is show you what to do inside the Facebook reporting to understand the data that we have collected. Now, I have a ton of campaigns here, so the easiest thing for me to do is going to be to export this data to Excel. As a matter of fact, I think it would be easier for you as well. But before we do that, we need to make sure that we are looking at the right data. So the first thing is to choose the general metrics box, if you will, the drop-down box, and change that to responder demographics. We're looking for people who actually responded to our ad. The next thing we want to do is make sure that the level is not account but campaign, and then we want to customize the columns to have basically everything that they have here, plus pay, and then scroll all the way down. Make sure that we take away the unique clicks. We don't need the uniques. We want to see the ad set name as well. As a matter of fact, if we go all the way up there, we don't necessarily need the frequency, the impressions, the actions that people took, the reach even. However, no, let's leave the reach to give ourselves a general idea. We don't need the cost per impression. So basically, uncheck everything except the reach, uncheck everything except the amount spent, then make sure that the page likes, because this is a page like campaign, are checked, and then scroll all the way down. Make sure the click-through, the clicks, and the cost per click are selected, as well as the campaign name. We don't need the account, and the ad set name as well. So then we click apply, and all these columns are going to show up. In my case, I'm going to change to last 30 days only because there's a ton of stuff here, and I'm going to need to look through that in order to find what we're looking for. And once we're done with all this filtering, so to speak, we click export and use the XLS file. And I'm going to save it here and open it. There we go. So the next thing I'm going to do is simply clean everything up, because I have way too much information here, and I don't need all of it for the example and the information that we're going to be covering. So I'm going to pause this video for just 2 seconds and come back to you and show you the exact ads or similar ads that we ran at some point, and how we can actually look and read this data when it comes to these page like ads. All right, so give me a second. It's literally going to seem like just a minute or just a second when I come back, and I'll come back with a cleaned up report. Right, and there you go. I've cleaned it up. Now you're going to have, of course, your own campaign name and your own ad sets. However, the point being here is the data that we're going to analyze here. So I've taken everything else out except the page likes, and I've left all this data as it was. But the idea is to, let's see, move this thing a little closer to these columns. The reach can go here. The amount spent can go here. All right. So we can start here. So basically, now what do? We can actually turn on the filters and allow ourselves to start analyzing the data. So the first thing, remember, this was a page like campaign. So let's actually see which demographics generated the most likes. Okay, and if we filter everything here, we can see easily that the most likes were generated. Let's cut it off at 10, for example. This is just an example to get us started. So everything below 10 we are going to chuck, or at least not care about, right? So we're going to highlight this in yellow. This is what we care about. So the next thing we're going to do is look through the number of clicks, which is going to be more or less in line with the number of likes. The click-through ratio, which is how people responded The click-through ratio is really how many people viewed our ad versus how many people out of those clicked on that ad. So as you can see, we have a higher number here, which is higher than everything else. But because these numbers are low, this number is almost statistically insignificant because it's not enough data to begin with that we've collected that this percentage is actually useful to us. So that's why we use the page likes to begin with to really kind of cut off at some point how many likes do we care about or not when it comes to the likes generated in these campaigns. So the next thing we can look at is the cost per click, right? So, or the cost per like, which somehow I think I forgot to import. But the cost per click is anywhere. Let's sort this. Now we only care, remember, about the yellow, right? So the cost per click is somewhere in a ballpark of 8, 12, 15, 6, 17, and then even 22 cents. Now this is when we start really dissecting the data. So as you remember, while we have the smallest amount or the lowest cost per click, we also have the lowest amount of likes and clicks. So that is sort of, you have to keep in mind, the less data you have, the less kind of statistically significant that is. So while it is quite low, it also generated very low results to begin with. So we're actually going to take this guy and mark it in a different color because, again, it's significantly or statistically insignificant. So we might want to be careful and kind of stay away from that. The other one is very high, and we might want to mark it just with the same color because it's an outlier on the other side. While it has generated a decent, high enough amount of likes and clicks, it's also cost us a lot. So basically, while we want to keep an eye on this group because it has generated positive results, the cost for those positive results was considerably higher than everything else. So we may want to take this group later and test it separately. Everything else is essentially this group right here. And if we actually go back to sorting it by likes, we see that the lowest number in terms of the age in this group is 25, and the highest is 65 plus, right? So far we have this information, but we're still digging. So let's actually look at the page likes as well. So we have the 31 likes, the 30 likes, the 20 likes, which is, again, great, but it was quite expensive. And then we have it drops off to 18 and 13 and so on. So essentially, what we want to watch carefully is the fact that these numbers, this is the reason why I said the more data you have, the more statistically accurate it is. And now let's look at these numbers again that we have taken out a few of these categories, at least when it comes to the age groups. And we could see that the page likes start from 31, then go to 30, and then there's a significant drop to 20, 18, and so on. Now, obviously, that's something that we need to look into. If we had a lot more data, because we've been collecting it for more days, for example, 5, 7, 10, this would have been a much more easier kind of chart to read because there would have been much more accurate data. But because this is more or less a 3-day period, we only have the type of data that we have here. However, that is enough to give us a clue as to what to do in the future. So because there's such a drop-off, and because we already eliminated this line here, you can technically say that there was a drop-off from 30 to 18, which is pretty significant. So based on that, I'm actually going to take the 18 and the 13 likes out because of the amount of likes that we've generated in comparison to this. And if we actually go ahead and mark this out, we're only left, because remember, we dropped these guys out completely. Let's mark them in, say gray. We only have, or are left with, this group, which ends up being 35 to 54 and female only. So That's essentially how you use this report. That's how you read it. That's how you utilize it. And the information that it gives you is incredibly powerful, because we went and started this thing from 18 plus. And we just said, listen, show this to anybody and let's see what happens. And at the end of the day, after reading this report, we ended up understanding that this group right here is the perfect group to target, because this specific group basically relates and consumes the information that we put in front of them in the best possible way, much stronger than any other group. And this is exactly what we're going to do. We're going to go after this specific group and now actually put up ads that are going to be selling things to them as opposed to just collecting data. However, the point here is that we started with absolutely no information, didn't know who exactly is going to be the best group to target, didn't know the age or the gender, didn't know any of those things. And then just a matter of a few days and, just putting up a simple campaign that we described, we realized that this is a very specific group that will do best based on the information that we've collected in responding to what it is that we have to offer to them. So this is a very powerful way of generating information absolutely from scratch and not knowing who to go after without doing pretty much any research except what I've just shown you in the last two videos. And being able to read these reports is very important, because it will always help you generate the demographics, who is responding best to whatever it is that you're sharing with them, whether it's just information or sales. And you can always come back to these reports, even when you're generating ads that bring you revenue, to go back and see which specific group or even which specific image, for example, works best based on the campaign and information that you put in. You also know that when you're going back using this information to put up a ad that is going to start bringing you sales, you will know that the keywords that you've used to generate this report to begin with are the exact same keywords or interests that you're going to use, because of, again, this is based on the data that we've collected for this specific group and the keywords or the interests that we've used. This is a pretty good response. You're getting a pretty good data back. You're getting a pretty good feedback back. So this is certainly something that you can go with, and this will give you a success with the niche that we have been playing with in order to generate this information. So once again, just keep in mind that these are the advanced tactics that are not available or generally shared with anybody. And what you have in front of you is one of the most powerful data agencies on the planet that is feeding you back information to give you exactly what to do and to whom to target. So go ahead and use this strategy and this technique if you don't know where to begin, or if you do know where to begin, this can help you validate the information and validate your interests and your demographics that you're going after, just in case you were wondering if you were targeting the right people. So that's it for the page likes and their reports. I'll see you in the next video where we're going to go deeper into much more advanced tactics as it relates to Facebook ads.